I'm John Sisko. I'm the Dean of Faculty and a Professor of Philosophy. Good to see you all here this morning and welcome to Catalyst Day. So I'd like to contextualize today's events a bit. Ripon College, as you know, is dedicated to education of the highest quality. And what that means is we're really all about servant leadership. The faculty and staff are here at Ripon because we believe in the mission of Ripon, and we want to empower you to flourish and establish trajectories for lives that are filled with intellectual autonomy, fulfillment, and commitment to the public good. And we do that with the knowledge that you will then pay that forward and carry the mantle and lead others humanely and responsibly. So Ripon education has two core elements. First, in our majors and minors, we grapple with deep and meaningful questions that shape our understanding of ourselves and the world. Second, in Catalyst, we focus on transferable skills and abilities that serve us all as professionals. Skill in written and oral communication, teamwork, and problem solving. Today, we as a community, we're going to learn about, consider, and explore advanced team-driven proposals to difficult problems. But more importantly, we will be engaging in a shared celebration of Ripon College, a celebration of our unique approach to education, and a celebration of leadership. So this will be a special day. To start things off, we've invited a keynote speaker who will share ideas and wisdom concerning leadership. And to introduce our speaker, Ali Starr, I would now like to turn to Professor Rick Coles, the college's People Chair of Servant Leadership. Rick.
Thanks, John. Hey, man. How are we doing today? I'll tell you, you're in for a treat. I've heard our speaker speak before, and she's dynamic. You're going to enjoy the time that she's speaking, so I hope you listen. I hope you take the message, because it's a great one. I'd like to introduce Ali Starr as our keynote to kick off our 2021 Catalyst Day. Ali is the founder of Tache Delay. Tache Delay is a Tibetan greeting that means, I honor the greatness within you. Tache Delay exists to ignite 7.7 billion heartbeats to connect deeper within so they can honor the greatness within others. Prior to creating Tache Delay, she served as Vice President of Culture Development at Verve, a credit union. Ali has a diverse background, having worked for the NBA, NBC 26, and the NCAA. Ali has experience as an elementary school principal and coaching a high school basketball team to the state championship game. She has a TED Talk on servant leadership and was a finalist in the Next Top Credit Union Executive Competition in Savannah, Georgia. Ali received a bachelor's degree in radio, TV, and film, and a master's degree in educational leadership from the University of Wisconsin-Oshkosh. When she's not working on her dream, she can be found golfing, fishing, creating arts and crafts, or having dance parties with her children, Penelope, or PJ, 7, Vincent, or Vinny, age 11, Ava, or Jojo, age 15, and Lily, age 16. Ali lives by the motto, who you are is good enough. Don't ever stop creating the next best version of yourself. It feels great to grow. Ali Starr.
So the basketball bounced for the very last time that season. The crowd dispersed and the scoreboard read 56-32. It was the season-ending loss for the Lady Knights. And that was my very first year coaching high school girls basketball. Now I have to tell you, it was my childhood dream, my one and only that I can really remember, childhood dream to coach girls basketball. And here I was at 26 with this amazing opportunity. Well, it didn't feel so amazing. We had only won 3 games all season long. 3 games, and I was distraught, I was frustrated. I was like, you know what, I'm gonna call the one person in my life that I know is gonna validate my frustration. The one person in my life that I know is gonna allow me to vent. So I picked up the phone and I called my daddy. I'm like, Dad, I know this was my childhood dream. I just don't think I'm cut out for it. It's like the defensive concepts, they're not sticking. It's like the offensive principles they don't understand. And Daddy, I don't think they like to compete. I mean, who plays a sport and doesn't want to compete? Dad, do you know we won 3 games all season long? 3 games, Dad, that's it, 1, 2, 3. Do you know how long a basketball season is? Silence. Oh, he's silent on the other end. Now, you have to know one thing about my dad. He's like this tough Italian man. He's very direct. When he loves you, he's going to love you hard. And when he yells, he's going to yell loud. But when this man is silent, ooh, help us. When this man is silent, oh, you know you're about to get it. He said, so let me get this straight, Allison. You only want to coach when you win? If you think you were put on this earth and in these young women's lives to just win basketball games, well, I didn't do my job as a parent. You see, my sweet daughter, you were placed on this earth and in these young women's lives to help them overcome adversity. You were placed on this earth and in these young women's lives to teach them to be more confident. You were placed on this earth and in these young women's lives to help them set up goals and then exceed their very own expectations. And if you happen to win more than you lose, well, that's just icing on the cake, baby. I had a lot of opportunity over that summer to reflect on how I was showing up. You see, how I was measuring success was not serving them, it was self-serving. And my dad in that moment didn't tell me what I wanted to hear. See, I don't think servant leaders tell you what you want to hear. I think they tell you what you need to hear. And in that moment, I didn't need to hear more complaining about the parents or the students or my players or the issues we had with referees or our schedule. I needed to self-reflect. I needed to look inside. That next year I went in and I said, hey, listen up, ladies. We are going to love, care, and respect one another. And if we don't win a game all season long, I don't care. That next year I started to model the way. I started to ask good questions, just like Dean said. Ask good questions and get curious. I was seeking to understand versus always be understood as the head coach. That next year, I made an intentional effort to make every player feel like a contributing member, regardless of how many points and rebounds they had. That next year, that very next year, they went out and won a conference championship. 3 years later, we played in the state championship game. See, my dad did not know it at the time, family, but he was teaching me what I believe was my first lesson in servant leadership. He mirrored something to me that I could not see otherwise. And in that moment, I had a choice. I could dismiss his thoughts, I could blame him, I could put him in the category, still play the victim, or I could look inside and use that to create the next best version of who I was created to be. So humor me for a moment, will you? I want you to close your eyes if you feel comfortable. If not, no worries. But I want your feet flat on the bleachers. Relax your shoulders. First of all, I'm so jacked you're here. Like, I heard you had the day off today, and like the fact that you are all these folks are here, I thought maybe 10 would show up. Like, I'm out of my mind excited to be here with you. So thank you for coming. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for being here, and thank you for being engaged. Like, this is so awesome. But I want you to close your eyes for a moment. I want you to call to mind somebody personal for you, okay? Relax your shoulders, take some deep breaths. I don't know what you left when you walked in. You know, if you have studies, if you have stress, we all do, right? We all have stuff we're gonna pick up when we leave this gym. For a moment, I want you to just set it on a shelf, and I want you to think about it. I want you to just be here. Be here, okay? Relax your shoulders. Close your eyes, take some deep, deep breaths in through the nose. Hold, out through the mouth. In through the nose. Hold, out through the mouth. Lengthen that spine. And I want you to think of somebody. Good for you. I want you to think of somebody. I want you to think of your greatest or your best leader, mentor, coach, teacher, or influencer. The best leader, mentor, coach, teacher, influencer. I want you to keep your eyes closed and call to mind this person right now. I want you to think of them in descriptive detail. Their smile, how they entered a room. Perhaps you remember them in a particular outfit. Now I want you to tweak your thinking ever so slightly. Seemingly you've had tens of, maybe even hundreds of influencers. Why did you choose that person? Of all the teachers, coaches, mentors, influencers, leaders you've had in your life at this point, why them? What characteristics did they possess? Okay, welcome back. I hope you have a pen, and if you do, awesome. What I'd like you to do with the Post-it notes that you have right now, and if you don't have a pen, that's okay, just talk about it. For those that do, though, I'm going to ask you to help me out with a little interactive activity here. So on the Post-it notes that Coach gave you when you walked in, you should have gotten 3. What I'd like you to do is write down 3 characteristics of the leader you chose. Just now. 3 characteristics, 1 on each Post-it note. 3 characteristics as to why you chose that leader above all. And after you get those 3 down, I want you to have a conversation with the group around you about your leaders. So go ahead and do that. Like, who did you choose? Why did you choose them? Share some of those qualities that they had. For those of you watching online, you can write them in a journal, or you can place them on a piece of paper, and then I'm going to have you do something with those qualities here in a moment. So go ahead and reflect. If you're with someone, great, you can have a discussion like our folks are here. If not, you can just write them in your journal and reflect on why you chose that leader. What qualities do you guys have?
Honest.
Yeah, good. What else?
Commanding.
Oh, okay. Love it. Anything else?
Good listener.
Good listener. Love it. Empathy. Good, good, good. Are these some athletes over here? Are these some baseball gents? Coach Eric, is that right? Yeah, he's a good dude. What qualities did you guys have? And did you have a pen or a paper? Did you have a pen? What qualities did you guys have? Driven. Awesome. What else?
I had understanding.
Understanding. Awesome. Good. One more minute. What qualities did you guys have over here?
I'm sorry?
What qualities did you guys have in a leader over here that you really admired or valued?
I put caring.
Caring.
I had a teacher in high school. She was very caring. She didn't
Love.
give up on a lot of people.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Good.
My dad,
Cool.
he puts himself on even ground with other people.
Love it. Love it. So just, not greater than, not less than. We're going to be talking about that in a minute.
My PhD advisor.
Yes.
And I wrote leads by example, patience, and never gives up.
Yes. Okay, good. Yes. So good. Okay. What are some of the qualities? Now, here's what I'm going to ask you. I've done this before with about 500 people, but we haven't been in bleachers, so I'm going to ask for your help, okay? I want you to think about that leader in 3 domains of competence, okay? As humans, we have 3 domains of competency, okay? Technical skill, that's like, okay, technically they taught me how to do a task. For me, I'm thinking technical skills kind of like Excel spreadsheets. That's technical. Taught me technically how to shoot a basketball, technically how to swing, right? So it's a technical skill. They're teaching you something technical. IQ, which is smart, right? Knowledgeable. Maybe they're well read. They know a lot about a lot of things, okay? And you value that. And then over here, we're just going to put a question mark in it, okay? So for my brave souls that don't mind, I want you to come up and put your Post-it notes, just a couple of you, I maybe like 20 total. Come up here and put Post-it notes where you think they go. Is it a technical skill? Is it an IQ? Or is it a question mark? We're like not sure, okay? And while some of those souls that are coming up here to put those Post-its up, I'm going to ask for people in the stands to tell me what are some of the things you wrote down, or if you had a pen, you would have written down. So go ahead. Some of you that have Post-it notes, throw them up here where you think they go. Other folks, share with me. What are some of the skills that or characteristics, thank you, young sir, I love you. What are some of the skills? What are some of the skills? I heard empathy. Yes. Thank you. And you can put it wherever you think it goes. If you're not sure. Okay, so that one actually goes here. Good. That's all right. Good. Oh, sorry, guys. Sorry. Mindful. So that actually goes here. Good. Good, guys. Thank you. Bold. Yep. What is that one? Oh, yeah. Good. Perfect. So, okay. Good. Good. Perfect. Thank you, darling. Awesome. Thank you. Yes, yes, yes. So good. As they're finishing up, I would love for you to just start blurting out some of the qualities as to why you chose that leader above all other leaders. Supportive. Self-care, that goes here. Confidence goes here. Thank you. Very good. Thank you. Awesome. You good? Fabulous. Okay, what else? Supportive, I heard. What else, family? Kind. Give me more. Trustworthy. What was that? Give me 3 more, please. Confident. Two more. Selfless. Challenge. Love it. Team, what are you seeing here? Sticky notes, yes. Genius. What else are we seeing? What's going on with this? Lot in the question mark. What do we think the question mark is? Personality. emotional intelligence? It's exactly what it is. It does not matter where I go. I could be in New York or LA. I could be with all female, I could be with all male. I could be with athletes, I could be in healthcare, I could be in education. It always turns out this exact same way. I'm not minimizing technical skill, and I'm certainly not minimizing IQ. But as humans, it does not matter how different we are. At the core of us, we all desire to be seen, valued, and what we do matters. To me, servant leadership is all those things. I always say you can lead, but you can't be a servant leader without EI. Okay, you can be a leader of people, you can be on an org chart, you can manage, but you cannot be a servant leader without a high level of EI. And here's the thing, folks, we usually hire people off of what? Why do we hire leaders usually? When they apply, what do we do with our resume? We show all the things we can do what? Technically, we show all the things we've accomplished, right? With all degrees, and all of that is important, but guess what? How you make me feel and how I feel when I'm around you will always be more important. Yes or yes? Kind of make it sassy, right? Like I don't give you an option. Yes or yes? Okay, so EI is this. This is all it is. And yet it's so difficult. It's the ability to recognize, understand, and then manage yourself, your emotions. Okay? It's the ability to recognize, understand, and manage your emotions. The other flip coin to EI is helping other people recognize, understand, and manage their own emotions. That's why you have good culture here at the university. That's why you have good culture on your teams. That's why you have good culture in your classrooms, or that's why you don't. Okay? As a predictor of success, and you guys just proved it, technical skill, you could double it, you could double IQ, and it will never be more important than that of emotional intelligence. And then I say to myself, why don't we teach on this more? And you might learn about this in your classes, but I'll tell you right now, I have kids in all grade levels, and there's not a high focus on this, for whatever reason. When they talk about it as a predictor of success, I'm not talking about paycheck, cars, what kind of car you drive, what kind of house you live in. I'm talking about a fulfilled, content, peaceful life, where regardless of circumstance, you are in a place of complete serenity and joy. That's self-awareness, self-regulation, empathy, motivation, and the ability to communicate with the people around you. That's all EI is, okay? So I searched, and I'm like, you know what? I want to be able to bring them something tangible. We're going to focus mostly on self-awareness for the rest of this talk, and we're going to hop right into it quickly. But what I really want you to know is that it can be taught. EI is not something you either have, you're born with, or not. EI can be taught and practiced, right? But just like anything, it takes intentional reps. Okay, so today I hope that you get a couple reps in. You ready? Here's what it is. Self-awareness is looking in the mirror. That's all that is. Self-regulation is to not go up this ladder of assumption and believe everything you think. Okay? Empathy is such that 80% of our world, think about this, wishes they worked with people that were more empathetic. 80% family, that's a lot of people. So when you get into the workplace, or if you're already there, 80% of the people you work with wish you were more empathetic, or you wish they were. I believe that these beget one another. So when we're aware, we can regulate. When we're regulating, we can be more empathetic to each other. When we're empathetic, we can motivate. We can crush any goal we have. And then and only then can we communicate on a really high level. See, a lot of organizations say, Al, come in, let's talk about communication. And I say, we don't have a communication problem. We could have done this virtually. In fact, we are doing this virtually. We can communicate at a snap of a finger. What we have is a self-awareness problem. We don't know how we're showing up sometimes. I always say the best indicator of that is when you get put in a group or faculty, when someone gets invited to a meeting and you think to yourself, oh my gosh, that's going to be a great meeting. The energy is going to be high. We're going to be full of possibilities. We're going to challenge assumptions. We're going to get curious. We're going to have really good debate, but we're all going to walk away feeling great. Or someone gets invited to the meeting and you're like, energy is going to go down. I always say the watts and the lights go down, right? Are you somebody that brightens the room or you dim the room? That's what servant leaders are always trying to inspire you to do, is create the next best version of yourself. And you can't do it without self-awareness. Here's the problem with self-awareness though, family. 95% of us in this room right now believe we are truly self-aware. We're like, I know how I show up. I know how I'm influencing and impacting other people. Guess how many are actually, truly aware of how they show up? Give me a percentage, because it's not 95. What do you think it is? 5, good. What else? 2? Well, that's good. We're going to have a little bit more faith in humans, though. What else? 10? Good. 10 to 15% of us are actually aware of how we show up in the classroom, on our sports team, at work. Okay, that's why it's a problem, is we can't fix something we don't think we need solving for. Okay, so here's what I want you to do. Put in your phone, do me a favor, put SELF, or if you have notes, if you like the traditional notes, go ahead and write it down on a piece of paper, but SELF, because here's what we're going to do with servant leadership. We're going to start with self. SELF. Okay, we good? You're going to fill that in here in a moment. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to select our thinking. You see, once upon a time there was a farmer, his son, and their horse. One evening the horse's gate got left open and the horse fled. The neighbor heard about it and the neighbor's like, comes running over. He's like, oh my gosh, this is awful. This is so bad. I can't believe your only horse that tends to your crop is gone. And the farmer peacefully replies, who's to say what is good and what is bad? The next day, the horse comes back actually, and it brings 3 other horses with it, and the neighbor hears about it, and the neighbor's like, oh my gosh, this is so good. Now you have 4 horses to tend to your crop. This is so good. And the farmer peacefully replies, who's to say what is good and what is bad? The next day, the son is training one of the new stallions, and he gets bucked off, breaks his leg. Neighbor hears about it. He comes running over. He's like, oh my gosh, this is so bad. This is so awful. Your son broke his leg. This is bad. And the farmer peacefully replies, who's to say what is good and what is bad? The next day, the army comes through, and they're enlisting young soldiers into the war. And his son is spared because he broke his leg. As you can imagine, the neighbor comes rushing over. Oh my gosh, this is so good. And the farmer peacefully replies, what does he reply? Who's to say? Who's to say what is good and what is bad? You see, family, I believe in my heart of hearts, and this is just true for me. If this doesn't resonate with you, don't let it be true for you. Okay, this is just true for me in my servant leadership journey. We have this problematic nature as humans to want to label things. Good, bad. Right, wrong. Great, awful. Congrats, condolences. And I know why we do it. I totally get why we do it. Our brain wants us to close the loop. It doesn't like to sit idle. In fact, you get a dopamine hit every single time your brain closes the loop. So it wants to label it, wants to put it in a box and just set it and forget it. And I think here at Ripon College, at least I know here at Ripon College, they don't want you to close the loop. They want you to leave it slightly open. Not on your values or the foundation or your beliefs, but just in other thoughts, other ideas, other opinions. But you have to fight that urge. It's extremely difficult. And oftentimes we allow our circumstances to define our thinking. Okay? We allow our circumstance to define how we feel. And that is a very difficult place to live. Okay? Because you're kind of like the neighbor coming in every moment with, this is great, that's awful. My daughter PJ, I was doing a workout the other day and she was sitting there coloring, and I was online with a friend of mine who motivates me, and she says to me, "Ali, how was that workout?" And I said, "Oh, it was great and awful." And Penelope's sitting there coloring, and she just looks up and she goes, "Yeah, it's awful, Mom." And I was like, wow, what if we could just look at life and just say, gosh, sometimes it's just awful, right? "10% of our fulfillment comes from the circumstance. 50% is how you were created. You can thank mom, dad, whomever for that, right? But 40% is your choice. Family, 40% is your thought around the circumstance. I was driving through Starbucks. This was when I was a principal. I was actually a principal for some of you in this room, which is so awesome to me. And I was running late, like I normally am, and I fly into Starbucks, and all of a sudden this guy cuts me off. And I was livid. I'm like white knuckling it. I'm like, oh, and I'm thinking a lot of colorful language, you know, a lot of words I shouldn't be saying out loud. And I'm like, oh, I'm so ticked. I'm already late. I got somewhere I need to be. It was all about me, right? And I'm frustrated. I get up to the thing, and I finally am about to pay for my drink. And the woman goes, "Hey, the guy in front of you said that you were his child's principal and that he just wanted to thank you because he just loves what you do for his kid, so he bought you your drink." I'm like, of course he did. Here I am saying all kinds of colorful languages about this jerk that just cut me off. It was just a circumstance. Right? It's just a circumstance until I assign meaning to it. I always say I graduated from MSU University, making stuff up in my mind. Anybody else do that? You can suffer a whole lot in your imagination than you will ever in reality. And the goal is to grow so strong on the inside, family, that nothing outside of you will disrupt your inner peace. So servant leaders start with their selective thinking. So in that S that was on your phone, I want you to write, servant leaders select their thinking. Okay? They do not allow the circumstance to hinder their thoughts. Now, most people will say to me, "Ali, I can't control my thinking, it's just a thought." And I say, you absolutely can. You may not be able to control the first thought that comes into your mind, that is for sure. Okay, sometimes it just floods in, but you can control the second as long as you stick with it. Again, the goal is to grow so strong on the inside that nothing on the outside can affect your inner wellness without your conscious permission. It's easy, yet not that simple. So we're going to select our thinking. The top 15 challenges that you will face or continue to face or have faced, 9 of them come from your thinking. 9 of them come from your mindset. Okay? So it's so important to get that thought process right first, because that usually ends in a result of something. Okay, good or bad, right or wrong, great or awful. right? So getting that mindset right is extremely important. I have a quick question for you. How many thoughts do you think we have in one single day? Too many? Yes. How many thoughts, guys? Give me a ballpark. 1 million. Thousands. 10,000. Okay, here's the deal. You have anywhere between 6,000 and 60,000 thoughts in one day. Do you know it's been said that you could write an entire book each day just with your thinking? Do you believe it? An entire book. But guess what? I don't know how many of us would want to read it, because guess what? How many of those thoughts that you have, family, are negative? What percentage do you think are negative thoughts? Everybody's like, oh gosh. How many? 75, 45, 50. You ready for this? Give me a little drum roll. Give me a little drum roll. Little drum roll. Of your thinking, 80% of your thoughts on average are negative. It's no wonder what we see and feel on a daily basis is this underlining discontent. It's no wonder. It's no wonder what you see on social media. It's no wonder what you post. It's no wonder what we see in the news. And the main function of your brain is not to assess the accuracy of your thinking. You have to do that. You see, your brain's main function will be and will always be, it has one job and it will default all things to this. It's constantly scanning friend or foe, right or wrong, good or bad. Like I said, it wants to label things. You get that dopamine hit every single time you close the loop on a thought. Every time. And its only function, and it will default to everything else, is this. It wants to save your life. But when you're in a heated discussion with your family, when you're having an argument with your spouse someday, or your girlfriend or boyfriend right now, when you're in a discussion in one of your classes, a heated discussion about big time topics that are hard to answer, your brain's going to shut down and it is going to default to saving your life. It's not going to allow you to access the part of your brain that's rational. So you'll default to negativity, and we all do it. We're human. Servant leaders help you access a different part of you. Servant leaders help you access this pace where they call you to a higher thinking. They help you zoom out to see what life is really about, or the circumstances really about, and they don't allow you to sit and spin into a downward spiral. When you select your thinking, family, you get to be the guardian to your own mind. And there's nothing greater than that. That's why we can't believe everything we think, and usually servant leaders will not allow you to call and complain like my dad didn't allow, right? They're going to call you back out and say, hey, what's your contribution? My daddy always used to say when I would point the finger at other people, he'd always say, sweetie, there's 3 pointing right back at you. Right? What's your contribution? What's your thinking? How were you showing up? Okay. Oh, so Dean asked me, he said, what is this Play-Doh for? I want to tell you 2 things. You will not go through life without pain. Yes or yes? We all have it. Pain is like this black Play-Doh to me. It's inevitable, and it's going to happen. Suffering, to me, is thinking it over and over and over, the pain, the hurt, allowing it to spin, allowing it to define you, allowing it to say, see, you're not enough. See, you're not as good as you thought you were. They're going to catch on to you. You're kind of phony and fake. They're going to realize you're not that smart. You didn't deserve this job. You didn't deserve the grade. You don't deserve the starting spot. That point guard's going to take it from you. See, that thought process to me is suffering. And when, as humans, this used to drive me nuts when my kids did this when they were little. They'd mix them together. Who is like having a nervous breakdown right now that I'm mixing these two together? This is what happens though, family, is when we mix pain with suffering, what happens? Can I pull these apart? No. Do you know how impossible that is? Once we decide pain is inevitable, suffering is a choice. Pain is absolutely inevitable. If you have a pulse, you will have pain. Suffering is 100% a choice to relive it over and over and over, to blame, justify, defend, reply, all the reasons as to why your life is the way it is, instead of taking it into your own hands and saying, you know what? I can't trip over what's behind me. If I knew better, I'd do better. Today's different. So once we mix them together, we can't unmix them. And that's what I want you to remember is as you continue to journey through life, you are going to have pain. Right? And your servant leaders are hopefully going to be there to help you through that. But suffering, that's now a choice. How many of you know what Stoicism is? Give me a little raise of the hand. Do you know anything about Stoicism? Couple? Okay, I'm a huge Stoic fan. Okay? And Seneca says we suffer far more often in our imagination than we ever do in what is real. How many believe that? Give me a thumbs up if you agree on that. Yes, I do too. Okay. The next thing, quickly, I want you to write in your phone. Expectations made visible. I want you to make your expectations visible to the people around you. And here's why. I think servant leaders are very clear on what they want. Okay, I am very clear. I want Tashi Delay to be a $3 million company by the age 45. That's a clear goal. I say it out loud. I write it down. I know exactly what I want and what by when. If you don't make your expectations visible, nobody can help you get there. Here's the thing. I think as humans, we're really good at, like, we don't know what we want, we just know we're not getting it. As humans, I think, especially I deal with a lot of women, we talk about being a mom, we talk about being a working person, we talk about being, a neighbor, whatever we're doing, and we talk a lot about that, and I say, hey, listen, it sounds like you don't know what you want, you just know you're not getting it. If we're not clear on what we want, we will never get it. When I talk about expectations, I also have to add in experience. Okay, and here's the deal. Oftentimes, we are disappointed when our expectations do not match our experience. That's where disappointment lives. Yes or yes? Expectations can also be the root of a deep connection in you getting what exactly, you desire. Whether that's a pay increase, whether that's putting your name in for a promotion, okay? Whether it's the courage to talk to your coach about different playing time, okay? Here's the difference between expectations and experience. My son, we're on our way to Kentucky. We're gonna go see that big ark, you know, the live Noah's Ark. Do you know where that is? It's in Kentucky? Okay, cool. We're driving to go see it. He's so excited. We get into the hotel room and he says, hey mom, I just have to do one little thing for math. And he goes, and then I'll be ready to go to the ark. I said, okay, buddy, do whatever you need to do. Okay, here's what happened. He had expectations, and he never told me about them. All he said was, I have something to do for math. Okay, how many can relate to this? We're in this hotel room, and he's like, hey, mama, guess what? He's like, I'm gonna sit at this desk, and I'm good. All I need is 5 minutes. Great, buddy. In his little 10-year-old brain, he's like, here's what I'm expecting. I'm gonna go into this hotel room. It's gonna be so quiet, you're gonna hear a pin drop. Okay? I'm gonna get 100%, and after I get 100%, I'm gonna get this big pizza party with my classmates. That was all silent. right between his ears. He never made any of that visible to us. He just said, I need 5 minutes. Here's what he experienced. Penelope, my 7-year-old, she is jumping profusely on the bed, screaming, Mom, 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 are we ready to go? Like, when are we going to the ark? Mom, Mom, Mom. My mom's in the bathroom and she's screaming, Penelope, your brother just really needs 5 minutes. That's all he asked for. So it was not quiet as a pin. You could not hear a pin drop. This little guy did not get 100% on his test that he needed to get 100% on, and he missed the pizza party. He was about to clobber his sister, and I said, whoa, 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 time out, time out. Honey, you have contribution. You had to explain to us what you were expecting. We didn't know. I said, honey, did you think it was going to be so quiet you're going to hear a pin drop? Yes. Did you think you were going to get 100%? Yes. Did you think you were going to get that pizza party? Yes. I said, but honey, that was unbeknownst to all of us. I said, had we known, what could have been different? He goes, well, Mom, I could have asked PJ and you to take a walk. Wow, I could have told Grandma to just stay quiet and put on her makeup in the bathroom. What else could have happened? See, servant leaders want you to be really clear on what you expect so that you can get it. Because the people that know and love you, I promise you, they want you to get what you want. They want you to get what you want. When you share what you expect, you'll have very little room for disappointment. When you have very little room for disappointment, usually that leads to more satisfaction. Okay? So right now, all I want you to do is turn to the person next to you, and I want you to share a time that you had this expectation. For me, often it happens when I'm like thinking about New Year's, and we're gonna have this awesome New Year's Eve party, and it's gonna be great, and I experience something that's kind of a dud, and it's not as fun as I expect it to be. We have to manage our expectations. So I want you to look at each other and say, like, when's the last time your expectations did not meet your experience, and what could you have done differently? Expectation, experience. They're a good group. They're very engaged. And I normally have the opportunity to share a little bit more and have them do stuff. But just with their long day, I thought, well, we'll just get in and out and give them a couple things to think about. Good, I hope so. These are little things that when I was younger, I wish I would have known. Just looking at how many slides I have left, because oftentimes, I'm like, I never talked about I just expected this from my parents, I expected that from my coach, I expected, and I don't tell them, and I don't experience it, and then I'm ticked, How are you? You're just a friendly face and you're so attentive. Any expectations you've had recently that you didn't match your experience?
Honestly, I probably failed a test last week.
Yeah.
But honestly, it's probably on me. Probably could have did more studying than what I did.
Okay.
But
you were hoping,
yeah.
Sometimes that's it though. We think I'm gonna nail this and then we don't and we experience something different. Yep. 1 minute? And that's often challenging. Yeah.
Academic.
Yep.
I kind of resonate a lot with the third one. I find myself kicking myself.
Oh, we are so bad at that. We are so bad at that.
Yeah.
I'm the worst. I actually will tell you a little trick to name, claim, and tame your inner critic. 10 seconds. 3, 2, and 1. Welcome back. Thank you. For L, I would love for you to write in or type in or limit your inner critic. I think servant leaders help you minimize that chatter, that noise that tells you what you can't do. I'm going to tell you guys right now, this was my #1 saboteur. I had many dreams to start this business years ago, and the fear the doubt, the thought that who are you to do this kept creeping in. And so it took a long time, and it still gets in the way. This is my number one saboteur and probably will be forever, is that inner critic, that rule maker, that judge that tells you, again, what you should and shouldn't do. One offering that's helped me tremendously is I've turned my shoulds into coulds. So we don't should at our house. I always say, like, hey, don't should on your sister. You should do this, PJ. You should do that, PJ. You should really do this with your life. I have a daughter that's going to go off to college soon. And it's like, oh, you should go study this. You're really good at that. It's like, stop shoulding on me. Who better than you knows what to do? So I would say, like, oh, I could work out, not I should work out. I could eat healthier today, not I should eat healthier today. It's just a little shift, and all of a sudden it makes me feel a little bit more hopeful and less judgmental of myself and others. Okay, so this limiting this inner critic, this is so important, and it's hard to do. How many of you have that chatter in your mind that tells you what you're good at, what you're not good at, what you should be doing better? Okay, how loud is it right now? If you have a volume 1 to 10, how loud do you think that chatter is subconsciously in your mind? 7, 8. Let's turn it down. You want to turn it down? Yeah, let's turn it down. Here's how we're going to do it. I'm going to skip that one. First of all, we're going to remind ourselves that the feelings that you have, the thoughts that you have on yourself, you're lazy, you're not enough. You're not pretty enough, you're not skinny enough, you're not smart enough. Whatever the enough is, it's a feeling, not a fact. Okay, so start there. The next thing is try to your best. This is so hard for me. For whatever reason, as humans, we fight this urge between better than and less than. Okay? When we show up into different things, we're constantly subconsciously assessing ourselves as, are we better than or less than this person? Right? There is a circle of health that is really hard to get to, but it's right there. It's walking into a space, into a room, and knowing that you just are and they just are. That you can honor the greatness within yourself as well as honor the greatness within the person that's around you. Okay, but we want to, for some reason as humans, label it right or wrong, good or bad, I'm better than, less than. And that's a really tough thing to do. There is this circle of health. And I think how we get there is loving ourselves a bit more. See, when I look in the mirror and I don't love who I am, and I've been there before, it's really hard for me to love a neighbor or somebody else, a teammate, a coworker, a friend, a family member. So it starts with seeing the world and understanding we see it as we are, not as it is. And here's what I want you to do. I want you to name that inner critic. Because it's not you. You are built for greatness. You are built for love. You are built for compassion, forgiveness, mercy, strength. You're built to do crazy, amazing things. You're not built to play it small. You're not built to stay and play it safe. So you have to create some distance between that judge and you. So my judge name is Keegan. Okay? I'm from Waukegan, Illinois. And I call her Keegan because she's sassy and she'll slice people up. She'll judge other people. She'll judge me. And she limits me from becoming a better version of myself. I don't care what you name your inner critic. I just want you to give it a name right now. Because I believe that if you name it, you can claim it and you can tame it. You can turn down the volume when you're aware that it exists. But a lot of times it's subconscious. Okay? And so he or she or it is going to be playing this constant track in the background telling you what you can and can't do, what you should and shouldn't do. So to the person next to you, whatever name comes out of your mouth right now is what your judge's name is going to be for right now. You can always change it later. But go ahead, turn to someone next to you and name your judge right now. What is it? Say it again.
Jenny.
Jenny. Good, good, good. Name that inner critic. What's yours?
Sean.
Okay, once we name it, we can create distance. For the next couple of days, I'm going to invite you, you do not have to, but I'm going to invite you to tally when that inner critic shows up. So you can just be aware of how many times it's trying to control and sabotage what you're really created to do. Okay? Last thing, redefining failure. This one's personal to me because I didn't grow up in a household that, my dad was like, hey, what did you fail at today? Or, how did you fail forward? Failure was a really striking word in my household. I remember in high school I had 21 points in the first half, and I had 3 in the second half of a game of basketball. And guess what we talked about the whole way home? What do you think we talked about the whole way home? The second half. So failure to me, I had to unlearn my definition. And I don't know how failure looked in your household, but I think servant leaders help you redefine what that actually is for you. And I'm not talking about a dictionary definition. I'm talking about in your heart what failure looks like. So if you can tame that inner critic, and if you can redefine failure, I don't even want to know what's possible for you. Because watch out, world. Here's what happened for me. I don't know if you can see it, but that's me. A girlfriend of mine says, hey, Ali, I'm going to take a bunch of leaders and we do a lot of experiential leadership work. We do some workshops, some keynotes like this, but a lot of times we go out and do something and then we journal intensively on it, okay? And she says, hey, we're going to go up to Devil's Lake and we're going to climb a rock, Al. And I'm like, I'm afraid of heights. She goes, doesn't that sound awesome? And I'm like, no, that sounds awful. Like, I'm super afraid of heights. Like, she's like, just come and see what happens. I said, all right. I knew at this point in my life I needed to choose courage over comfort anyways, because usually when I choose courage or things that make me uncomfortable, I get more confident, and I like to be more confident. And when I'm more confident, I can choose courage, right, which leads to more comfort, leads to more confidence. So I kind of knew that this one begets the other, so I said, all right, let's do it. So we get there, and I'm watching these leaders go. We climb 2 rocks, and then the 3rd rock, leaders about 75% of the way up, tapped out. And I'm already comparing courage at this point. I'm like, okay, I see how hard it is, at least from down here. I wonder, okay, maybe at that mark 2, maybe I'll tap down and tell my belayer Paul that I need him to rappel me down. So I get up there, and I see exactly what these other leaders see, exactly what they see. You almost have to risk. You have to leap. Oftentimes, I don't know if you rock climb, but you usually want at least 2 parts that are really stable. And at this one particular spot at this rock, you had to leap. You had to risk it. I told you I was already comparing courage. And I'm like, I'll tap out then too. So I get up to that spot, and I'm like, oh, Paul, I'm good. Rappel me down. Paul's 20 years old, I'm 40 years old, and he's silent. Now I get nervous. My voice starts to tremble. I'm like, hey, Paul, did you not hear me? I'm ready. I'm good, bro. Come on. Do that little thing. Let me come on down. He says to me, Al, when is the last time you failed? I thought, well, here's the thing. I have a couple therapists. I love therapy. But I'm like, Paul, we're really doing this? X amount of hundreds of feet up on this rock. We're going to start doing therapy right now? I'm like, really? You might be a good therapist, Paul, but right now I'm not looking for that. I'm looking for you to bring me down. He said, let me put it this way. I want you to fail. He said it again with even more confidence. He said, Al, I want you to fail. I had a lot of great coaches. I had a lot of great leaders. I had a lot of great influencers, but not one of them expected me to fail. Not one. In that moment, all of a sudden, it shifted from failure would be like failure to like, okay, he's like telling me jump. Like he's telling me I got you. He's like telling me like you can't get this without that. So I jumped, somehow caught on, scaled my way back up, hit the carabiner, and I immediately started to cry. It had nothing to do with scaling that third cliff. I didn't even like this. I didn't even want to be there. It had everything to do with that one phrase that would have shifted everything in my life. I want you to fail. You see, up until that point, I was comparing courage everywhere. People said, oh, Al, that's just so awesome. I can't believe you started your own business. That's really courageous. I can't believe you took that leap. I started to, compare courage, take on other people's courage. Let me tell you, as unique as you are built for something different. Your courage does not look like the person next to you. Some of you are meant to write books and change the world that way. Some of you are meant to stay at home and raise your family and change the world that way. Some of you are meant to go on and be doctors and lawyers and all these things and change the world that way. Do not compare courage, please. Because your saboteur will just hop all over that. Redefine what failure looks like, and it might just shift everything. There's Paul. I wanted to strangle him with that rope right there because I was like, get me down. But he wouldn't let me do it. So I think servant leaders help you fail forward, and I almost think that they remind you that you are valuable and that is going to happen. With emotional intelligence, I believe it's a lot like this. I believe it's a lot like a Mobius strip. Whatever goes on inside of you eventually comes out. The more you push things down, the more you don't share what you expect, the more you allow that saboteur to run the show, that judge, that inner critic, right? The more you allow your thinking to run you instead of you run your thinking, the more you allow fear and failure to define you, the harder life will be. The more you control those things, the more you look inside, the more you understand and honor the emotions, the feelings, all the thinking that you have, and say, hey, it's just a thought. It's a feeling, not a fact. The more likely it is on the outside, you will show up as your best. Everything that goes on the inside eventually comes out, and servant leaders help you grow so strong on the inside that no matter what, it cannot disrupt your peace. As Coach said, I work for a company called Tashi Delay. It's a Tibetan greeting. It's how the Tibetan people greet one another. It means I see you and I honor the greatness within you. And so I'd like to end by saying thank you. It's such an honor to be with all of you. And I'd like to say Tashi Delay to all of you. Thank you so much.